I help female entrepreneurs to overcome anxiety in 21 days without hours of therapy or meditation. So, if you want to know more about that, you can hop on the link to the side or below, depending where you're watching this, and book in a strategy call and we can chat about how I can help you. So, today we're talking about where does anxiety come from? And this is such an interesting question because with a lot of my clients, we dive into like literally speaking with the anxiety and being like, why are you here? What is the purpose of this? And it's always so interesting because the answer is always it's here to protect you and it wants to keep you safe. And it's just kind of like it's got the message mixed up and it's kind of gone too far the other way. And it's like being overprotective of you. So we just have to create and instill that sense of safety and show you why you're not in that situation anymore that made you believe that you needed that anxiety there to protect you. So, like I was saying, anxiety is really your body's way of trying to protect itself and keep you safe. And it can stem from us needing to be hyper vigilant because maybe early on in life we were in a situation that was really dysregulated. Maybe we grew up in a household that was volatile and we felt like we always had to be on edge and be prepared for something to happen, or maybe something traumatic happened. And when I say trauma, like people always associate it with really big things, like it could be sexual trauma or something like that. But when you're little, trauma can be anything that meant that your nervous system was like taking on more than it can handle. And when you're really young, that can happen really easily. Like it's like when you're small, you don't know how to regulate your emotions, and so you can easily become emotionally overwhelmed. And when you perceive that you can't get out of that situation, your brain encodes that as trauma. So when I say trauma, like it doesn't have to be like a huge thing. You have to remember to see it through the eyes of like that little version of you, and that could be like anything from maybe you got lost in a shopping center and that's really traumatic for you when you're young. And I know it sounds really ridiculous as an adult, but because as an adult you have the coping skills to deal with that situation and you can see why you weren't actually unsafe. But that little version of you, that memory is actually what's being stored in your nervous system. So you have to kind of think about it in the terms of like how old were you when that trauma encoded. And it can also even be impacted by the way that our mother felt when she was pregnant with us, or even in those first like 1 to 3 years are super pivotal. Like the home environment that you grow up in teaches you a lot about how safe the world is, or like how safe and protected you are. Or maybe if your caregiver wasn't showing you love and affection in the way that you needed it, you took that to mean that like you weren't enough, because it's easier to believe that we're not enough than it is to believe that we live in an environment where our caretaker isn't able to be there for us. And then that kind of stems into that feeling of if we're not enough, we don't deserve to be safe. And so if we don't believe that we deserve something, then we're not going to be able to receive it in, even if the evidence is pointing to the opposite. So, whenever I work with my clients, and I was sort of saying this before, and we talk to the anxiety, it's really here for one reason. It's here to protect us, it's here to keep us safe, and it's usually because we believe that no one else is going to do it. So that hypervigilance needs to be there in order to keep us safe. And it actually gets in the way of us doing things because we get stuck in that fight or flight or freeze. And so when that happens, either we're going to be inclined to run away, we're going to get argumentative about it. And the other one that people don't really talk about is freezing. And there's also fawning, which is also a nervous system like response, but it doesn't get talked about as much. And so fawning shows up in us like if we grew up in an environment where we felt unsafe, we will almost go out of our way to be like overly compliant. We'll be really nice to people, we'll kind of go above and beyond to make sure that we feel like we're taking care of the people around us. And I don't just mean like in a nice person way, I mean like to the degree where it's almost at the expense of our own feelings. And so fawning is really like, it's like the name implies, it's like you're fawning over those other people. You're trying to show up in a certain way and treat them a certain way because you think that that will make you safe if you're able to like just pander to the needs of the people around you. And then freeze is like what it sounds like. You freeze up, you literally can't take action, you can't do anything. And this is, you can't do anything, yeah. The thing with like freezing up is it's why I see this with so many entrepreneurs. It's like we know what to do, we know what the strategy is, we know that we need to go out and do this, but for some reason we feel like we can't. It's like we literally feel stuck, and that's freeze. That's your body being stuck in a nervous system response where it perceives that it's unsafe. You see this in the wild with, like, say, like rabbits or something. When they're running around and they hear something and they think it's a threat, then they'll like freeze up, because if they're freezing and they're still, then maybe that threat won't see them. And we do exactly the same thing. So, to get rid of it, we really need to work with your body to heal what was the cause of the original trauma. And we need to get in there and understand, like, why does it think that it needs to do this? Because you can try and do all these things on top of that. Like, you can use the affirmations, you can meditate, but unless you go in and fix that root cause of why your body doesn't believe it's safe for it to like exist in the world and go and do the things that you want to do, you're going to really struggle to make a lot of headway, because you're not treating the original root cause. You're just kind of like going over it. And other ways that you can sort of teach yourself to self-soothe and instill a sense of safety is, you need to sort of learn how to regulate your own nervous system. And that's something that we didn't learn to do as a child, but when we learn these behaviors as an adult, it can really help us manage that anxiety that we feel. And some of the ways that you can actually work on moving this through your body is like daily practices. Like, you can do breath work, whether it's just like a short breath work thing, or you can do like holotropic breath work, which is like the really, it looks like you're having an exorcism almost. You're like almost hyperventilating to over oxygenate your body, and that's actually really great for releasing trauma through your body. And also like cold showers, meditation, spending time in nature, making sure that you're only doing one thing at a time so you're not like overloading your body and your nervous system. To really eradicate it for good, though, like I was saying, you really need to get to the root cause and like reframe that and release it, which I can help you with. So if you want to learn how you can get over your anxiety in 21 days, you can book in a free strategy call with me and we can chat about how I can help you get rid of it. So I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope you have an incredible day. Talk to you soon.